Thank you for being here. This is great. We are in for a treat the next 2.5 days for sure. And we have a lot of people to thank. This is truly a collective effort. I don't think any large scale event like a conference is a one-person show. It really is. It really does take a village. And I have to thank a lot of people for that. And I also will say this over and over again, and I will repeat myself, is that we are so happy to be at WashU. This is a wonderful university. I have good vibes. Good vibes. All right, we're going to get started. Asara Santiago Rivera is my name. My pronouns are she, her, ella. I have had the privilege of serving as the chair of this terrific organization, AAHHE. I have been a committee member of AAHHE. I have had the privilege and honor of being on the finance committee. And then that's kind of morphed into my taking on this role as chair. It really has been a tremendous experience. And I have so many people to thank, including Patrick Valdez and Cristobal Rodriguez. They're not here yet, but I will get them I'll acknowledge them in a minute. So welcome, buenas. It's great to be here for the 2024 conference. I want to say one more thing before I get into specifics, is we had wonderful sessions this morning. Pre-conference sessions this morning were enlightening, invigorating, challenging, scary, as we talked a lot about the political and social climate that we are in right now and the backlash. But they were good discussions. And those discussions must continue throughout the next 2.5 days, for sure. We've got to get this going, and we have to be advocates for change. So having said that, I want to thank Edith Fernandez and Luis Don Juan. They just finished their pre-conference institute. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for all that you do, mi hermano. Also, Estela Zarate, is she here? Estela is not here yet. And Anne-Marie Nunez also gave a wonderful pre-conference event with the Diana Natalicio Institute. It's Diana, but I say Diana. Okay, if that's okay. So we came together to really have some important discussions. They will be joining us later, but I didn't want to, begin this without thanking them. So let me move forward here. As you know, this is the vision of AAHHE. I'm not going to read it. I'm a professor by training, so I always tell my students in class, you can read what's on there. I don't need to repeat it. But it does embrace who we are. That's the message. That's the takeaway. This is who we are. This is our vision. This is about what we do. This is our 19th year as an association. We've been around for a while. Yes, applaud yourselves. In addition to that, this is our mission statement. Now, mission statements should never remain the same. They should never be static. As things change in our society and as our communities change, so does our mission. We might have some core values that remain consistent and constant, but we must always consider changing our mission statement to reflect, to make it current, basically. It's basically current. So these are our core values: advocate, engage with equity and justice, and prioritize inclusionary praxis. We're working on this very hard. This is a work in progress. And I want to just applaud all of you. Applaud. Work in progress. Throughout the next few days, we will continue to show our vision, mission, and core values on PowerPoint. If you want to read up on our policy against discrimination and harassment, you can use your phones right now, and it is a lengthy document. We've worked very hard to revise it, and I would welcome you reviewing it for sure, and feedback in terms of what we might need to change. So we do have a policy in place, discrimination and harassment. Any questions so far That's the faculty side of me. No? Okay, great. We're going to move on. I have the privilege to ask Dr. Begay to come to the podium, please. Pamela Begay is a member of the Dene, which is Navajo Nation. And she grew up, I did not know this you grew up in Shiprock, North New Mexico, and also California. We have this thing going about people from California, so that's why I had to mention it. I'm going to turn this over to you, ma'am, and she will do the land acknowledgement for us.
Yat Pambigay Yanishya, Ashitli Inchle, Hawantlane Bashishtin. Hi everyone, my name is Pam Begay, and as you said, I'm hailing from the Dene Nation in New Mexico, but shout out to Long Beach, California. And I really thank you all for inviting me to present the land acknowledgement. And this is a land acknowledgement that has been adopted by the Brown School of Social Work, and we have worked really hard on this at the Catherine M. Booter Center for American Indian Studies, where I'm the director. Washington University in St. Louis occupies the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Osage Nation, Oto Missouri, Illinois Confederacy, Quapaw, Ho-Chunk, Miami, and many, many other tribes as the custodians of the land where we reside, we occupy, and we call home. We recognize their sovereignty was never ceded after unjust removal and encourage your own research on tribal removal, tribal sovereignty, and the history of the land wherever it is that you reside. We promote the inclusion of tribal history and the incorporation of contemporary thoughts and actions into your work. In offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm and support tribal sovereignty, history, and experiences of all of our elders, past, present, and future generations. And we always say 7 generations yet to come through their and our continued connection to this land. AAHHE.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And as you can see, you can read her wonderful bio on all the great things that she has done. Take a few moments to read that, please. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Well, the next part of this is to really thank our conference partners and our sponsors for sure. And we have many to thank. And once again, throughout the conference, we will be acknowledging them. But as you can see, this is growing. Our partnerships and our sponsorships are growing, and that's important. He is making a difference. We have new sponsors and new partners, which I will talk about tomorrow. But I just wanted to quickly show you Lumina, Texas State University, Insider Track, Mount SAC, Metropolitan State University of Denver. So we continue to make a difference, the Fulbrights. So here we go again. I'm just going to quickly go through these. So we have sponsors and partners. They have sponsored certain events at the conference, as you can see. Okay, welcome. This is the part that I think I'm going to enjoy the most. Am I on track here in terms of time? Someone needs to tell me this because I can go on here. This is very exciting for me. As I mentioned, I'm thoroughly thrilled to be here. And we have greetings from a number of people, leaders of Washington University. And I want to first turn our attention to our Chancellor, Andrew Martin, yes, who will be sharing a welcome via, so just click it. Okay, here we go.
Welcome to Washington University in St. Louis. As Chancellor, it is my honor to welcome you to our campus for the 19th Annual Conference of the American Association of Hispanics in Higher Education. We are excited to host this conference for the first time in the Midwest and to welcome so many Latinx faculty, staff, and student leaders from across the country. The theme of this year's conference promises robust discussions that are timely and relevant to the important work we all do. I hope you are able to take breaks from your work to enjoy the vibrant, historic city of St. Louis together with your colleagues. At Washington University, we strive to foster a diverse, equitable, and inclusive community where all feel welcomed and empowered to achieve their full potential. Over the past decade, we have steadily increased representation of Latinx students, faculty, and staff on our campuses through significant investments in financial aid, need-blind admissions, and other initiatives aimed at expanding access. Our efforts for equity, diversity, and inclusion are fundamental to achieving our mission to act in service of truth through the formation of leaders, the discovery of knowledge, and the treatment of patients for the betterment of our region, our nation, and our world. We do this work proudly as we take an intersectional approach, recognizing the multifaceted identities represented by our community of scholars and the many contributions they make to our campus. We proudly serve our students in the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, where they receive not only support for their daily lives on campus, but mentorship and development of their own abilities to further equity and inclusion in their circles and communities. WashU has earned 5 out of 5 stars on the Campus Pride Index, one of only 44 campuses nationwide to earn this distinction. Our Latinx students lead important conversations through annual summits and affinity groups. The work of the office continues to expand, and we're proud to be known as a place that celebrates the richness of diversity. Likewise, our Latinx faculty and staff are supported in a multitude of scholarly, leadership, and professional development opportunities. We are especially grateful for the community that is fostered through the Latinx Faculty and Staff Affinity Group, Somos WashU, as it provides a space where all can come together and thrive as a community. I hope you will take advantage of your time here to connect with colleagues, exchange ideas, and return home energized and inspired. Know that we are excited to have you on our campus and look forward to the ways your interactions during this conference will leave our campus enriched by the presentations, dialogues, and innovative collaborations that will take place this week. Thank you for joining us here at Washington University, and I wish you a wonderful conference.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chancellor Andrew Martin, for those wonderful words of welcome. We all feel it. And next, we have Dr. Beverly Wendland, a Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs, who also would like to share a few words and welcome us. One more time.
Hello, I'm Beverly Wendland. As Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at WashU in St. Louis, I want to offer you a warm WashU welcome. We are delighted to have you. Nearly 200 dedicated and professional educators, scholars, and higher education administrators, all gathered here in St. Louis. If you've had the chance to walk around our beautiful campus, you may have noticed it's unusually quiet and peaceful. Our students are on spring break, but trust me, on a typical spring day, our lawns and buildings and walkways are bustling with energy. Students, staff, and faculty from all backgrounds and origins come together in shared learning and growth. This brilliant diversity of voice, story, and perspective greatly enriches our university and underscores why we are honored to host this conference. Finding ways to address the underrepresentation of Hispanics on college campuses is critical to the vitality and relevance of WashU and higher education as a whole. We have been focused on how to narrow this gap for some time and are making strides in the following. Since 2010, we have increased Hispanic and Latinx tenure and tenure track faculty on our Danforth campus by 88%. Since 2018, our number of Hispanic undergraduate students has increased by nearly a third. In 2020, we founded the university's Center for the Study of Race, Ethnicity, and Equity, which supports transdisciplinary study on topics of race, equity, and inclusion across our campus. And last, we recently completed a race and ethnicity cluster hire initiative that resulted in 14 new faculty members across departments and fields. We know that there is so much more work to do, and we are up for the challenge. Our new strategic plan holds diversity, equity, and inclusion as a guiding principle, and gatherings like this act as a catalyst to bring new energy and insight toward impactful, actionable solutions. I want to thank the organizers of this conference and all of you for bringing your ideas and perspectives on this important work. I wish you a great and fruitful event.
Terrific. Okay. Now we also have Dr. Caldwell. Kia Caldwell? Oh, well, you can't hear me without the mic? What is that? Can you hear me better now? Okay. Dr. Kia Caldwell is here, Vice Provost for Faculty Affairs and Diversity, and she's the Professor of African and African American Studies, Dean's Distinguished Professional Professorial Scholar in Arts and Sciences. Please welcome Dr. Caldwell.
Thank you, and hola y buenas tardes. Yes, I speak Spanish, yay! So I am honored and extremely pleased to welcome all of you to WashU in the city of St. Louis for AAHHE's 19th annual conference. This year's theme is an exciting and thought-provoking one, interrogating ways of knowing and production as forms of healing, the intersections between the land, community, and education. This gathering comes at a time when many of us have deep concerns about higher education and its relationship to the future of this country and democracy. I hope the conference sessions will provide opportunities to recharge and reconnect, as well as to establish new connections and networks with like-minded scholars. During this moment when the very presence and value of Latinx, Latinx students and scholars in academic institutions is under greater scrutiny, it is more important than ever that we form a united front to resist the forces of hate, intolerance, and regression. We won't go back. As a scholar, my work has focused on issues of race and gender in Brazil and other parts of Latin America, and my graduate training was strongly influenced by reading Chicana scholars and writers, such as Gloria Anzaldúa and Sherry Moraga. My thinking has also been profoundly shaped by scholars such as Rina Benmayor, Renato Rosaldo, and other members of the Latino Cultural Citizenship Project. Intersectional and women of color feminisms have also been critical to my scholarship and my life, and as an academic leader have profoundly shaped how I see issues of equity and advocate for change here at WashU and in other spaces. I was thrilled to see that my friend and colleague, Professor Tanya Hernandez, would be one of the plenary speakers at this conference. Is she here now? Not yet, okay. Her work has been instrumental in shedding light on ways to address anti-Blackness in Latin America and in US Latinx communities. I believe it is also critical work in this moment when all communities of color need to stand in solidarity against white supremacy and the ways it divides us. Yes, we have to name it to fight it, right? So knowledge production is vital to this process and is also critical to ensuring that this country is truly a multicultural democracy, a goal that is yet to be attained. I work closely with my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Aurora Kamimura, yes. So thank you to Aurora for everything she has done and is doing for this conference and for AAHHE. She is a member of AAHHE's board and the Assistant Provost for Inclusive Excellence here at WashU. So we jokingly say that we're making good trouble all the time. When Aurora first mentioned that AAHHE's conference would be coming to WashU, I was elated. It is significant that this gathering is happening here and now, given political dynamics in the state of Missouri, in this country, and in the world. And thank you for coming to Missouri. We need more gatherings like this. This year's conference theme highlights the need for healing and the inextricable ties between the land, the community, and education. It is my hope that we will all leave this conference with a renewed commitment to use knowledge as a tool for healing and liberation. I want to thank Aurora for her hard work to bring this conference to WashU's campus. And I also want to thank and ask them to stand up, embarrassingly, Cecilia Hanan Reyes, Tamara Kulish, and Nick Blaylock for all of their work. as well as our other volunteers from the Provost office. They have been working for at least a year to bring this conference to fruition. So in closing, bienvenidos, bienvenida, and I wish you a wonderful, impactful, and healing experience over the next 3 days. Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna just shift. So I would like for, actually, I want to ask both Cecilia, Nick, and Tamara to come up here, please. Please, 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 quickly. We're on time. Come on, quickly. Come down, come down, come down. It has been a pleasure working, as you mentioned, Dr. Caldwell. It's been a pleasure working. I've attended most of the meetings. We met every other week. And I can't tell you the amount of time and hours associated with this conference, getting ready for this conference. And if it were not for them, Aurora, gracias for identifying them. Come over and we want to give you a small token of our appreciation. It's a plant. This is the plant of life. You are to nourish it. Please take care of it. Don't let it die. This is a reminder that we were here on your lovely campus. So whenever you look at it, you'll say, oh my God, it's from AAHHE. So this is for you. Nick? You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. I also want to thank, oh, I need to do this. I'm having a hard time multitasking here. Board members, the board of directors, some of you are here today. Most of you are here today. This is who they are. Just please stand and be recognized for all the hard work that you do. Please, Cristobal, Patrick, thank you for all that you do. Thank you. We have a lot of talent on that board and we will continue to expand that talent. Muchas gracias. In addition, our wonderful team, AAHHE team, conference team, I'm going to put them on the spot. Some of them are here right now. Please, Leslie, can you stand so people can see who you are? Kayla, stand. Patty and Chrissy, I believe, are outside, right? Or are they here? No, they're outside. Lucia, who is our director of operations, could not be with us today. She has a family member who is quite ill in Guatemala and is there with her mom. I don't think she would mind me saying that. Once again, this individual has been incredibly, when at a time when AAHHE was undergoing some transition and change, she came in and made a lot of important changes structurally. Okay, and that I am totally grateful for that. So grateful for that. A lot of her hard work is because of what we, it has affected, influenced who we are today. So the evolution of the organization, its change, which will continue to change and evolve, thanks to Lucia. So my love, all of our positive energy goes to her as she's dealing with a very difficult time right now with her mom. So please, round hand of applause. Thank you. All right, moving on. I'd like for our graduate student fellows to please stand. Yeah, and our faculty fellows to please stand. We are grateful and thankful that you are here. Yay. We will continue to celebrate them throughout the conference. Thank you for joining us at the plenary this afternoon. And our Caminos to Success Fellows arrive this evening. So you'll see them on around tomorrow. Go back. Oh, they didn't stand. I did say, faculty fellows, please stand. Yeah, you want to stand again? I thought they stood. It's okay. It's all right. Hey, listen, that's okay. We're going to celebrate both our graduate student fellows and faculty fellows throughout the 2.5 days we're together. Caminos of Success Fellows, as I mentioned, will be arriving later on today, and we will celebrate them too during the next 2.5 days. Our scholarship recipients, NLA scholarship recipients, I'm not sure if any of these people are here at the conference. Blanca Rincon? No? Well, I don't think any of them are here, but let's applaud them anyway. Come on, let's applaud them. Woohoo! Yeah. Now I'm going to turn the mic over to Antonio Duran.
Gracias, Sara. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. How are people doing? Love it. Let's get some energy up in this space. For those of you who I have not yet gotten the chance to meet, my name is Antonio Duran. I am an assistant professor in the higher and post-secondary education program at Arizona State University, and my pronouns are he, him, his, él. This past year, I also had the wonderful pleasure of serving as the conference co-chair, working alongside volunteers who gave tireless labor, energy to making sure that this conference came to fruition. I also get the pleasure to speak a little bit about the conference theme in relevance to what we should be expecting over the next few days. First, I do want to acknowledge that I had the pleasure of working alongside an incredible conference planning committee co-chair, the brilliant and talented Dr. Audrey Baca Lopez, shown here. Audrey is unfortunately not able to be here with us today, but her spirit of kindness, resistance, and community will be present throughout the conference, thanks to her and the work of our incredible conference planning committee. On that note, if you served on our conference planning committee or served as a reviewer for conference proposals, please stand or wave if you're able to be recognized. To contextualize for folks, these great people gave of their time, efforts, and labor to help craft the experiences that we're about to be having over the next few days. And in developing the conference, the CPC is tasked with being responsive to the trends happening in higher education, together with being visionaries to help us chart a path moving forward. So the conference theme this year, interrogating ways of knowing and production as forms of healing, the intersections between la tierra, comunidad, y educación, certainly represents the same, as it challenges us to think about what counts as knowledge and educational spaces and beyond. As anti-DEI legislation, anti-trans legislation, labor exploitation, and more continues to take hold in different regions across the country, shaping our educational systems as a result, I would be remiss to not acknowledge that focusing on knowledge production and valuation is an act of political resistance in today's climate. Over the next few days, we will engage in discussions about how to better center the forms of knowledge that stem from Latinx, Latine communities, and what healing has to occur for this to follow. And additionally, I firmly believe that this theme, to not only wrestling with knowledges that we ourselves are finding erased, but also that we need to wrestle with the knowledges that have been marginalized within our own communities, as we need to contend with the ways that we have internalized, remained complicit in, and furthered white supremacy, anti-Blackness, heterosexism, trans oppression, ableism, and other forms of domination. To interrogate ways of knowing means to wrestle with these own contentious histories that have been present within our Latinx, Latine communities, and within AAHHE as a professional association as well. It is time to confront these legacies face on with a desire to figure out how we can collectively heal moving forward from the harm that we have endured from the outside world and the harm perpetuated by those that we call familia. So it is perhaps more relevant than ever in recent history to be unified in this process. So I encourage you over the next few days to be reflective of how you are situated relative to this theme. How have I been complicit in normalizing particular knowledges and bodies over others? And more importantly, how can I help disrupt this? I believe in the possibility of each and every one of you doing this, and I look forward to learning alongside you all during this conference. Thank you all so much for being here, and I hope that you have an amazing conference.
Thank you, Antonio. Are we excited or what? Yeah. All right. Let us continue here. I have a distinct pleasure of introducing. We attended this pre-conference session and it was just wonderful. I'm just gonna leave that right there for now. Her name is Melody Gonzalez. She's the executive director of the White House Hispanic Initiative. And she would like to say a few words and welcome all of you to the conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Buenas tardes. Me da tanto gusto estar aquí. Es mi primera vez aquí en St. Louis. Mi nombre es Melody González. Soy directora ejecutiva de la Iniciativa Hispana de la Casa Blanca. Trabajo bajo el liderazgo del presidente Joe Biden, nuestro secretario de Educación, Miguel Cardona, and I am so overjoyed to be able to spend some time with you all. I love action. And I'm going to share with you all 7 quick tips that I think would be helpful. We could talk educational policy work all day, all night, and know that we are here to help and support and serve you all. But I'd love to see if we might be able to get the slide. Let me see if I click through, will that work? No? Okay. So quick change of game plans. I will share with you all a little bit about our office and a few suggestions, a few updates. First of all, our office is based out of the U.S. Department of Education. We are housed under the leadership of Secretary Miguel Cardona, and I hope you are all very proud and have had a chance to follow some of his work. He is a father, first generation English learner, familia de Puerto Rico, who was tapped on the shoulder by an educator who encouraged him to become a teacher, and went on to become a classroom educator, a leader through the school systems in Connecticut, eventually the state superintendent of education in Connecticut, until he got that special Zoom call from President Joe Biden, inviting him to serve as one of a historic 4 Latinos in his administration. And so I hope you know that there is a champion at the very top and actually all across our organization at the U.S. Department of Education, where we are held, that is focused on making sure that we are here to support you and every student, and I mean every student in this country. So a few things that we focus on, there's 12 cradle to career policy goals that we work on advancing. They're in our executive order that President Biden issued. He actually expanded our scope. So while we've always been focused on education, we also now focus on equity and economic opportunity. We lead a federal interagency work group. There are over 35 federal agencies who are focused on, for the first time ever, building teams of their staff to work in support of our Latino policy goals. And I share that because that means that for you all, in addition to the Department of Ed being a place to look to for money and support and technical assistance, all of our agencies are really reimagining how they engage in their grant making and dismantling barriers that have been keeping our community back and advancing civil rights. And I do want to mention and make sure you all know that at the U.S. Department of Education, we have an incredible Office of Civil Rights that is focused on making sure we are helping you and your students. So if there are situations that are concerning to you, know that there is a way to report those. We have lawyers in regional offices all across the country. There is guidance that you can look at around issues like the Supreme Court's decision on affirmative action, DEI classes, ethnic studies programs, resources that you can print and use to talk to your colleagues about. And if you need extra help, know that there are an incredible network of allies there for you inside our building and in regional offices of civil rights across the country. We also lead a President's Advisory Commission on Hispanics, and I'm thrilled that one of your own, Cristobal Rodriguez, is one of 21 leaders that President Joe Biden appointed to help make recommendations through our office and Secretary Cardona to President Joe Biden. They've been working on that and bringing a number of higher ed issues to the table, including asking for more to be done when it comes to growing the pipeline for Latinos to go on into doctoral programs, academia, as college administrators. We want to make sure if there's research and work that you all are leading, bright spots and best practices that we're hearing about that, so we can bring that into our work, both in our commission as well as through the initiative's broader work. And we also lead a lot of public engagement. So we are constantly doing in-person and virtual events to try to make sure that we're getting resources out to the community. One thing I do want to mention, because it is hot off the presses, is that yesterday we made an electronic announcement that there have been improvements made to our FAFSA process and this for the technical issues that were impacting our students of mixed status families. You may know, if you've been in contact with some of these students, if one of the adults that had to sign and co-sign on that form did not have a social security number, the system wouldn't allow them to proceed. But our team was on it. They've been working on this behind the scenes. We've been doing weekly meetings with Latino and immigration groups as well to make sure we're hearing exactly what's happening. And yesterday, the announcement was released that the system is fixed. There may still be little glitches, little situations kind of here and there. So for example, if a student wrote that their address is, Woodlawn Drive, and the parent fills out DR instead of the full word drive, there might be odd little match issues. But we've got a great team managing the chat, the emails that people reach out to, including bilingual staff, and the bilingual hotline. So that is just one of the breaking news resources I wanted to make sure you all know about. Pero estamos aquí para servir. And earlier today, we did get a chance to spend some time with some of the leaders in AAHHE, and I also had a chance to meet with some last night. And I know that so many of you are operating with full hearts to help our students, and in places where you're facing a lot of challenge. The one thing I wanted to close with again is to know that we are here for you. We are here to protect your rights just as much as students' rights. And as President Biden said, when the Supreme Court affirmative action decision was made, we cannot let a decision set us back in this country. We need to keep an open door of opportunity and remember that diversity is our strength. The promise of America is big enough for everyone to succeed. And I'm always going to fight for that. And know that Secretary Cardona, our Department of Education, and myself, we are here to continue the fight. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you so much. Melody is going to go off. She'll be leaving. Thank you so much, Melody, for those words. Muchas gracias. All right, moving along here. Do I need to say anything about this? No, I think we have this, right? Just some updates. I guess these are housekeeping issues. Fellows Hospitality Suite. It's in Siegel Hall, room 148. Come join the fellowship. All right. And also, apparently you can't leave your items unattended. Is that it? Because the room will not be locked, correct? So just a quick reminder of that. We do have gender neutral bathrooms located. These are locations of our gender neutral bathrooms. So make note of that. This is in the program as well, right? Yes, good. All right, and these are just another set of housekeeping items for you. And I'm not going to read them. You can read them. They're available to you. And this, I don't know if you've had any questions about where to park. Does anybody here have issues with where to park? You're good? All right, we'll move on. Now, I have the pleasure of introducing Patrick Valdez, who is our past chair of the board of directors, who will introduce our STEM medical lecture keynote.
Awesome. Buenas tardes. How's everybody doing? It's like the third buenas tardes that we're going to have today, right? There comes a fourth one and a fifth one. Get ready. Aquí estamos. Well, first I want to thank our chair, Sara Santiago, for all the great leadership she's provided this past year. And you probably can't tell, but she's powering through a little bit of a cold and some sickness. So thank you so much for powering through for us, Losada, and for your leadership. Learned so much from you this past year. So thank you so much. The Cigarroa Family Lecture Series has been happening since 2017. The AAHHE Cigarroa Family Medical / STEM Distinguished Lecture spotlights a prominent and established scholar or leader in the medical or science disciplines. The lecture is named in honor of the Cigarroa family of Laredo, Texas, to which I will read just a brief bio so that you have a better understanding of the weight that this lecture carries. Dr. Cigarroa, Francisco Cigarroa, was born in Laredo, Texas, and was a third-generation physician. He earned a bachelor's degree in biology from Yale University in 1979 and a medical degree from the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas. He joined the faculty of the University of Texas Health Science Center in San Antonio in 1995, and he served as a director of pediatric surgery and university president of that institution from 2000 to 2009. He established a multidisciplinary pediatric transplant program that focused on kidney, liver, and intestinal transplants with outstanding outcomes. In addition to that, he was the first Latino to be named chancellor, or Latino, Latinx, Hispanic to be named chancellor of the University of Texas system in 2009. He oversaw 9 universities and 6 health institutions, and his leadership was critical in establishing 2 medical schools at the University of Texas Rio Grande down in the valley, which is largely populated by Latinx constituents. His leadership was critical in that area. He also advanced engineering across the University of Texas system. And as I stated, we've been doing this now. This is our 8th lecture. We've been doing this since 2017, and we've had the opportunity to have outstanding guest lecturers who represent the best and the brightest in our communities that are pushing these initiatives. This year's lecture is no different. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing, after a brief bio, Dr. Denise Martinez, who currently holds the position of Associate Dean of Faculty, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and serves as a professor of family medicine at UC Riverside School of Medicine, and she's been there since August 2023. Her journey has come full circle as she returned to the Inland Empire of California, where she spent her formative years to continue her mission of promoting diversity and equity in healthcare education and practice. Before her tenure at UC Riverside, Dr. Martinez was recognized as the youngest medical school assistant / associate dean in the country, ultimately spending 12 years at the University of Iowa School of Medicine and Leadership and serving as interim associate vice president for health parity for the Iowa health system. Throughout her career, Dr. Martinez's dedication to DEI and health disparities has garnered her awards such as the 2023 Distinguished Alumni Award for the Early Career Achievement at the University of Iowa, the institution's highest award. And in 2022, she was honored with the National Latino Medical Student Association's Faculty of the Year Award for her unwavering commitment to mentoring students, her tireless efforts to reduce health disparities, and her innovative work in creating pathway programs. Additionally, she was named one of the 100 inspiring Hispanic / Latinx scientists in America by Cell Mentor. It is with great pleasure that I now introduce Dr. Denise Martinez.
Can you hear me okay? Oh, good. Oh, sounds good. Yeah. Okay. Hear me? Okay. Nope. Oh, it's not on. Sorry. Can you hear me now? Oh, yeah, I can. It sounds good. Okay, sounds good. Let me grab the clicker. So, oh, this is so wonderful. And that was a very nice introduction. Thank you so much. And it's really, really fantastic to be here today. Honestly, this is good for the soul, I would say, right? This is good for the soul. Like, what a time this has been recently for many of us as we are thinking about higher education, as we are thinking about bringing up the new leadership. And so first, I do want to say thank you so much to WashU, the leadership. This is an amazing space to have this event in the Midwest. And the Midwest has a very special, near and dear place into my heart. Now that I moved to the country of California, I'm happy to be back in the Midwest. I'm also grateful to AAHHE and the planners and the board and all those who have contributed to this event, because I know it will be fruitful, because we need this community. We need to continue to figure out how to move this amazing work forward. So thank you so much. I really loved the theme of this conference about healing and how much do we need healing and how much we need healing in this country. And as a physician, as a family physician, I really thought, oh my goodness, how can I talk about healing? Because this seems sort of right out my alley as a doctor. And so, we're going to talk a little bit about that today and some of the work that has been done and that needs to still be done about cultivating healers in our community through medicine and what that looks like and what our community needs. So go ahead and get started. And thank you, to the Cigarroa family as well, like amazing. Here we go, okay, there we go. So for me, when many of us think, when did you first think, you were gonna decide what you're gonna do with your life? Some of us as children, some of us, it took a long time, so it's hard to know. For me, it was right here, that's me. And being the very early 80s, thank you, Mom, for that awesome bang do, because that was very excessive, I would say. But it was here, I was 5 years old, and there's nobody in my family who's ever done anything like going to medicine or become a physician. I come from a very amazing family. We're Puerto Ricans, but we are actually Puerto Ricans from Hawaii. I don't know if many of you know that history. Excellent. So as you know, we are everywhere. Latinos are everywhere. But Puerto Ricans were taken from the southern part of Puerto Rico and shipped to Hawaii in the late 1800s, early 1900s to be field laborers in the sugarcane plantations. And so that's where my family comes from. My father was a plantation worker as well. He worked for Dole, picking pineapples for many hours a day. And it's really interesting because people will say to me, oh, your family's from Hawaii. And they'd invite us over and say, here's some pineapple. And my father is like, never, because if you pick pineapple 12 hours a day and that sort of thing, that is not what you want to eat at all. So with us, I make pasteles, but I also dance hula. That is our cultural background. But my mom at this time was pregnant with my little baby sister, and who's now like 40. So she's not my little baby sister, but I still think of her that way. And there was this woman who was like, she's going to bring this baby into the world. And I thought, this is amazing. I was 5 years old. How cool is that? And so I thought, maybe one day I could be something like that. And that doctor gave me this little tiny book that had like the little embryo development of how like a baby grows and that sort of thing. And I studied that little thing to death. I loved it so much. And I drew embryos. That is a picture of what I liked and what I drew, because I thought, gosh, this is so amazing. And I want to be a doctor. I want to deliver babies. This is very cool, right? And then the other thing that really inspired me to go into medicine was my grandmother. Isn't she beautiful? So growing up, and she grew up with our family, she had a lot of chronic medical issues. And honestly, it always felt like she wasn't taken very seriously by the medical profession. They didn't always believe what she was saying. She didn't always get investigated, get the right tests. And when I was in high school, my aunt said, you know what? Let's take her to like a Latina physician and maybe one who speaks Spanish. And maybe that will make a difference. And lo and behold, it did. She ended up getting a right treatment course that actually impacted her life and the quality of life. And she ended up passing away, bless her, at the age of 95. But I saw this firsthand. I saw, what is it like when you have a physician who believes you and can speak to you and your family and your culture and understands where you're coming from and how much of a difference that actually made. And okay, I'm going to be a doctor. So I went to medical school, or sorry, not medical school. I went to college. I grew up in both in California and in a little bit in Seattle. And so I went to school in Seattle, and I went to a small liberal arts school, a PWI. And one of the things I realized when I got to school is it felt like everybody was a pre-medical student. I don't know if that ever felt like that to you. And I was pretty intimidated because I was like a pretty decent high school student, but I didn't study a lot. I just sort of, did high school, or I thought I studied, but I really didn't study that much. And then I did a first class in university called general chemistry. Has anybody ever taken, and bless you to all the chemists in the building here, that is not my thing. And so I took general chemistry, and guess who did not do very well in general chemistry? That would be me. And so my pre-health advisor came up to me and it's like, we need to meet and have this conversation. I was the only Latina in my class, actually, out of a few hundred students. And he came up and we had this sit down conversation. And he's like, do you know what? I just want you to know there is absolutely no way you will ever be a doctor. Yeah. And I was like, oh gosh, I guess I'm going to be a secret pre-medical student from now on. But honestly, I basically thought I was done. I thought this was it. And as you probably know, and at least for me, working with pre-medical students a lot, this is not an uncommon story, that there are so many gatekeepers who instantly say, this is not for you. And it's garbage. It's utter garbage. And like, look at me now. And then I ended up being on the board of trustees of that institution and shaking his hand like that. So, but one of the most magical things that happened to me, and important things that happened to me, and this was in the 90s, so there wasn't like as much of the internet, but there was actually literally a poster in the science building that had like a tear off piece of paper that talked about a summer program for minority students, underrepresented minority students, to get into medical school. And it was at the University of Washington. And I applied to it for 6 weeks. Maybe this would be an opportunity to help me. And I got into the program. And the first thing I thought to myself was, gosh, nobody applies to these programs. Because I was like, how in the world did I get in? But the truth was, a lot of people applied to those programs. I just didn't think that would be for me. And the very first day I sat down in that room, and there was a dean of diversity of the medical school who said to 80 of us in this room, we chose every single one of you because we know that one day you're going to be a physician. And the first thing I said to myself was, wow, they lie here. They are liars, and I don't believe this. But honestly, by the end of the summer, I did believe it. And actually, that 2 years later, I got into 8 medical schools. And so that's me actually in the summer program, having the time of my life. That was really fun. And that doctor who told me this was David Acosta, the first Latino physician I ever met personally, who is the chief diversity officer so he's the diversity officer over all medical schools now. And so it's been 25 years that he has been my direct mentor. And that has meant everything. And it helped me very early in my trajectory in my career get to where I'm at. And actually, he's the keynote of an event I'm doing in 2 months at my institution because of that connection. And so I know how powerful those things are. And so after that, I went to Boston for medical school. I went to Tufts. And then my partner at the time was like, after you go there, where do you want to go for residency? And he was a surgeon. And he's like, oh, I really, really, really want to go to the University of Iowa. And I said, where's Iowa? Because I'm from the West Coast. And as you know, you fly over the West Coast to the East Coast. And that's about it. That's what and I knew Chicago. I knew where Chicago was. So when I talk about this from the West Coast, and I'm glad to be back in the Midwest, a lot of people say, this is Iowa. Is this Iowa? No, what's this? That's Idaho. Then some people say, this is Iowa. Is this Idawa? What's this? Ohio, yes. This is Iowa. So I ended up in Iowa. It was not what I expected in my life, but it actually ended up being an amazing opportunity. And I'm glad I spent 15 years there. 15 years. And for a couple of reasons. So again, we are everywhere. So I lived in West Liberty, Iowa, which is a majority Latino town. Latinx. This is a town just outside of Iowa City where the University of Iowa is. And because of the agricultural industry, you know, this town has been, and there was a turkey factory in that town. And so there was a full dual language program. I worked and staffed the free clinic there to make sure everybody had access to healthcare in that town. And it was a really, really amazing opportunity. I also had an amazing opportunity to be part of being in leadership in developing students. And so when I graduated from residency at the University of Iowa in family medicine, I joined the faculty because I thought, oh, what do I do next? I'm not sure. And my chair said, where do you see yourself in like 15 years? And I said, I want to be maybe a dean of diversity, like David Acosta. He was the guy who got me into medical school. How do I do that for other students? Believe it or not, 3 weeks later, there was a call for faculty members to apply to be the interim dean of DEI at the institution. I applied with sponsorship of other mentors, and I ended up being the interim dean and then assistant, then associate dean, and then vice president of the healthcare system. And so all of those things were really amazing. And then I was able to bring that same program that got me into medical school to the University of Iowa. And I was that doctor at the beginning, telling that we chose each and every one of you because we know that you could be doctors one day. And so, what we need more healers. And this is all to say we need more healers in our community. The health disparities are real. Health disparities are huge for people of Latino, Latinx, I'm just gonna say Latino identity for now. And they're huge. We know that if you have Latino identity, you're less likely to have health insurance in the United States. You're less likely to get preventative medical care, to things to help prevent things later on, like diabetes, hypertension, those common problems that we say in chronic diseases. We know that people of a Latino identity work in jobs that are higher risk, have higher mortality rates just within the jobs. And gosh, the place that we saw this the most was during COVID, right? You know, at the University of Iowa, that's the only major medical center in our state at that time. We had to create a Spanish-speaking program that was very, very important, with all of our Spanish-speaking doctors rotating in and out because nearly our entire ward was Latinos because of the folks who were going to work were the folks in the factories and other spaces of Latino identity. And how much did we see that disparity at that time? It was huge. We are more likely to suffer from environmental issues, unfortunately. So in California, where I'm at now, there's a place called the Salton Sea. Some of you might have heard of it. Because of climate change, environmental change, that sea is drying up. And now the childhood asthma rate in that particular community is over 50%. And that's because of environmental injustice and environmental change. And less quality care. Bias is real. Bias is real. And so there is racism, there is misogyny, there's all of these things that happens in medicine and within the medical system. And as well as not inappropriate use of interpreters, inappropriate use of children being interpreters for families, inappropriate use of all of these different spaces. And that does impact the quality of care and the healing that our community needs to be healthy. And so there's a huge push. There was that National Latino Physicians Day. It was the second annual this past year, but it was amazing. I don't know if any of you saw it on social media, at least in my realms in the medicine. Everybody came out. It was huge to say 6% is not enough. People of Latino identity are 6% of physicians, 6%. 20% of the national population is Latino. Where I live right now is 60% of the national, or 60% of our population is Latino. And still in the area that I live in Inland Empire, California, 6% are doctors. It is not enough because we know that language concordance, ethnic concordance, race concordance, cultural concordance, all of those things improve the quality of healthcare. The data is totally sound. We know this as fact, that people's health improves and the outcomes are better when those things happen. And so having greater representation, but then also having the system itself be culturally competent is incredibly important. Also, who are our leaders who are teaching our students? So I am a full professor at the University of California system. And I think right now for full professors of Latino identity, it's about 5.4% of all faculty who are also full professors. But if you break that down by gender, there's about 3 out of almost 200,000 faculty in medical schools. There's 300 of us who are full professors, Latinas, 300. And so the representation is crazy. And same with other parts in the academy. And so who is teaching our healers moving forward is also incredibly important. And so many of our students come in and want to go back into the communities and be in the communities, which is amazing. But we also need folks within the academy to teach our students as well. So what are the important things that we can do? Sorry, I'm just doing a quick time check. Oh, I think we're doing pretty good. So there's a number of things. And I'm very supportive of pathway programs because people need to feel like they can see it. People need mentorship. Nobody can do this on their own. And now with race neutral policies, because of the anti-affirmative action rulings, this is even more important and more critical. So now I'm at the University of California, Riverside, which is a Hispanic serving institution. It's a Hispanic serving medical school. We are the 5th most diverse medical school in the nation, just behind the HBCUs. And so it has been remarkable. Our leadership is incredibly diverse, but we know as a 10-year-old medical school institution that creating that next generation is incredibly important. The data also shows that if and most people know that by junior high is when you decide whether you can or cannot do something in life. And so sometimes pathway programs don't reach far back enough. And so University of California, Riverside has pathway programs that go all the way from kindergarten. And so we go into the classrooms on a regular basis in our white coats. I just did it myself, including the very wonderful kindergarten space of my son. And at first he never thought what I did was cool until we all showed up in white coats and he's like, oh, there's mommy right there. Talking about how to become a physician, that you should become a physician, because all of us know, I mean, because many of us as either students or fellows and junior faculty, senior faculty, that you've been in spaces that you're like, oh, I always thought that doctors were like way smarter, way above, way all of these things that I could never be or accomplish. And sometimes you're around some of these people and like, I feel like I shouldn't say this out loud, but like you are so regular. And so many of our students who come from backgrounds have gone through so much and are so extraordinary. They don't know the heights that they can reach and the things that they can have access to. Same thing with next, we do high school programs. So we have a future physician leaders program that students can enroll into. We have significant programs with all of the community colleges locally to help feed people into our medical school. We do many medical schools, health coaching program, we have a post-pack program, and then we get people into the MD program. So it's like a significant series of programs that people can go from one to the other, to the other, to the other, to help get them through the pathway. And we know that this is absolutely critical for us to meet that gap in the providers that we need for our future. The other piece is that there is some wonderful spaces within medicine to create the kind of community that we all have right here, but also in those medical spaces. So I'm on the board for LMSA, the Latino Medical Student Association, which is an amazing, amazing organization. And with this, not only do we have the medical students, the pre-medical students participate in national conferences, not only do they go to Washington, DC, the lobby, so we're teaching them about how to create policy, how to create change, and then how to be part of the change of the medical system, but we're also providing professional development. And some of those professional development pieces are critical. Similar to pathways, as you know, it's really unfortunate that there's so much of what we'd call the hierarchies in medicine, that there's so many hierarchies that people don't know about. They don't know about the hidden curriculum. So all of those unspoken rules that exist, that if you're not part of the club and your parents weren't part of the club, you don't know how to navigate those spaces very well. And I always feel a little bit guilty because we do a lot of professional development, talking about the hidden curriculum, talking about the hierarchies, talking about the best way to navigate these spaces, because we know these spaces are full of white supremacy. We know these spaces are full of all these types of structures that are not right. But we have to teach our students the rules so that one day we can change the rules. And that's part of the intentionality of having these programs and these spaces. Additionally, through the continuum, once we have medical students who are, again, pouring into and providing professional development opportunities, we are trying to create more faculty, and that is incredibly important. We need our teachers to be those who go into spaces and can teach all students about how to take care of our communities. And so Líderes and a couple of other are enlistos are from the Latino Medical Student Association, and these are professional development seminars where junior faculty can learn from senior faculty about how to raise up in the academy in medical school. What does that take? Demystifying the processes. I had no idea what an assistant, associate, full professor, like what did all this mean? What are all of these NIH grants? You know, all of those types of things. And if you don't know those languages, if you don't know how to do it, it's very hard to be successful in this space. And so we're taking it within our own groups to figure out and how to support each other, create those connections so people can be successful in medicine. And then how do we teach our students from all different backgrounds to take care of our communities and provide healing? And so in my current medical institution, we have a program, Hablamos, and it's pretty amazing. It's 4 years long, and most of the students are enrolled in it, even folks who are not of Latino identity, Latinx identity. And they learn medical Spanish, and they learn it pretty well. Going from pretty basic all the way to advanced throughout the 4-year curriculum. And not only that, but providing cultural context. So learning from the community, inviting the community to participate, the community telling us what the community wants. And so it's not just us going into the community and saying, here we are, but having our local community say, these are our needs, these are our wants, these are our desires, and these are the things that the students are learning on a regular basis. Our students, their 4th year of medical school, actually do homestays where they go and they live with agricultural worker family for a week to find out what their life is like and have that experience, which is also really important and really powerful. And so this is something that is very, very it's something I really, really love. And it's something that all of our students need. And again, one of the things that I think is so basic, and it seems so silly, but I think so many in the community just want people to believe them. That if you go in to see a physician and they are willing, a stranger, you have to sort of quickly tell all of these things about yourself, sometimes intimate things about yourself that you wouldn't just naturally share with somebody when you first meet them. That whatever they're saying to you, you just believe them. And we know that there's data that shows that if you're a racial or ethnic minority, you're significantly less likely to be believed by the medical system. If you're a racial or ethnic minority child, and if you go into the emergency room and you have signs and symptoms of an acute appendicitis, you're less likely to get any pain medication at all compared to a majority child. If you go into the emergency room and you have signs and symptoms of having a heart attack, you're less likely, and objective findings, meaning we have EKGs and other tools that show we know that you are having a heart attack. You're less likely to be called for having a heart attack, less likely to be treated for having a heart attack if you're a racial or ethnic minority. We know that if somebody's in hospice and they're at their end of life, and if they happen to be a racial ethnic minority, that the doctor is less likely to spend time with that patient, less likely to touch that patient. All of those things that our community needs as far as their healing. And so teaching our students about biases, teaching about cultures, teaching about all of those spaces, incredibly important for our future. And so what does the future look like in medicine? And one of the things that I think we're excited about is really taking a look at, are there models similar to the amazing work that historically Black institutions have done within this country of creating our own medical schools? And ones that are fully bilingual and that are catered to the full understanding of how to treat patients of our identities. And that is really exciting, and I think something that we are working towards. John Paul Sanchez, he is the National Director of LMSA, the Latino Medical Student Association. He's also a dean of one of the Puerto Rican medical schools. This is something that we are talking about, that because 6% is not enough, we need to figure out, are there different models to create those physicians that we need going forward in this space. So again, lots of talks and discussions, and hopefully that will be something that will be fruitful moving forward, as well as figuring out how all medical schools can continue to do better in this space, because that is also very much needed. And so, you know, I think Dean Dees, who is the dean of my medical school, who is an amazing, amazing person, who's one of the very few first Black women to be a dean of a medical school. This is what she says at the end of every talk that she does, and I totally agree with it. If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so that is true. We have to figure out how to continue to go together so we can go far. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity, and thank you so much for having me.
Inspiring. Oh my gosh. Dr. Martinez, is this on? Can you hear me? Gracias. That was very inspiring. Thank you so much. What a great way to start the afternoon, right? Now there are concurrent sessions. We're going to wrap up real quick here. Where is the clicker? Here we go. Can you stay? Will you be staying for the conference? Okay, maybe we can chat later. I'd love to talk with you. All right. So we are ending this welcome plenary part of our conference. I just want to remind everyone that the concurrent sessions will start at 3:30. And please join us for the awards dinner at Risa Commons at 6:15. We will be starting pretty prompt so that, we can get through the awards and have dinner and engage, dialogar, todo eso. So welcome again. Thank you for joining us this afternoon and have a great conference. We'll see you later.